Test one, see.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of the Cabinet on today, Wednesday, the 17th of July. We start with apologies for absence. I don't believe we have any apologies other than Gareth Shaw, the Chief Whip, is attending online. I think we've also got Councillor Gary Malcolm online also. Any urgent matters? I don't believe there are any. Matters to be considered in private? I don't believe there are any either. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Minutes of the previous meeting. What I will say in this point, as it's probably the most appropriate point to do it, which is that we congratulate Councillor Deirdre Costigan on her election to be the Member of Parliament for Ealing Southall. It's been fantastic to see her sort of take her seat and get involved in all of the wonderful things that are happening today, not least the King's Speech. And I'm sure her experiences of being in the Cabinet will be invaluable to her as she takes on her new role. and as is customary, but also well deserved, if Cabinet are agreeable, we will record a vote of thanks for Deirdre for her hard service to this authority in the minutes. And it also therefore gives me wonderful pleasure to welcome a few new faces to the Cabinet's table. The first, of course, Councillor Blarina Hashani, who's taken over as the Cabinet member for Thriving Communities. We welcome Councillor Paul Driscoll, who's taken over as the Cabinet member for Climate Action. And of course, we welcome Councillor Louise Brett to her role as the new statutory deputy leader of the London Borough of Ealing. We also welcome Rhian Davies, who is our Interim Director of Legal and Democratic Services, to her first meeting of the Cabinet. And with those introductions, we shall move to agree the minutes of the previous meeting. Thank you very much. There are no appointments to subcommittees or outside bodies for this agenda, so we move now to the Council Plan Performance Report for the year end 2023 and 24. This is a rather dryly titled report, but it actually reflects the incredible progress the Council has made towards delivering against the Council Plan. The very bold and ambitious agenda that we set the Council as an administration at the beginning of our term of office, reflecting the priorities that we set out and the people of Ealing voted for at the last set of elections. Therefore, as is the case, I'm going to invite each Cabinet member to say a few short words about the key achievements that have happened in the past year, and then also think about the things that we might need to improve on for the year ahead too. There are questions from opposition members, but we will get going, and I will first invite Councillor Anand.
Chair, thank you. I'm just going to start off with a bit of the sad news that year on year there's an increase on the areas across the whole of London where we've had violence and robbery, which has increased, but some of these larger percentages actually increase is impacted by the fact that Ealing had a lower overall starting baseline, and it still remains a borough with a low below average crime rate, and we're still doing very well with that, and working with our Metropolitan Police partners, I'm sure we will be reducing crime shortly as well. Very good news, Chair, on item number 2. Our priorities are extending to the child first approach, which is very important, and that prevents children from entering statutory service through early intervention, and effective collaboration with partners really makes that difference, and we're able to deliver on those perfect results. The third one, Chair, all the children who are affected by the YGS have education, training and employment reviewed as part of their assessment and planning process. So from this process, any child who is not in the ETE for whatever reasons, they're also focused on and they're identified, and the support is given to them to make sure that they're back into the ETE at the earliest opportunity. Of course, there will be challenges because of challenging behaviours, complex needs and circumstances can affect the figures. There's also increased parental support and community engagement in place for the families. Parents may need more specialist and individual approach to support the child and the family, which is approved by our Family Lives programme.
Thank you very much. Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, there's a range of achievements that we've made good progress with the regional park, with Warren Farm, progress there, which is good to report on. Bike hangers, good way through to our target. Micromobility, we've got developments that are coming very shortly, which are progressing at pace, which is good, and EV charging points have been added, so we're well on pace to meeting our target for the whole borough. And recycling remains one of the best in London, so that's good to report, and we're well on target to meet our trees planting commitment, so there's lots of good news there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blacker. Yes, Councillor Blacker.
Thank you, Chair. We have delivered 78 new SEND places in the last year, 53 of which are at special schools and 25 are in mainstream provision, which is very good. I'm very pleased to say we won a silver award for the Ealing Learning Partnership, the Pearson's National Teaching Award, which was announced during the pre-election period, so we can now celebrate it. 98% of our schools continue to be good or outstanding, thanks to the work of that partnership and the staff at our schools. And just as we entered the pre-election period, we had a visit from Ofsted for our full ILACS inspection. Given it wasn't technically in the last year, Chair, I shall perhaps reveal how that went on Tuesday.
And I believe you've got a question at full council, so who knows what the answer to that might be. Although I do believe it has been press released by Ofsted. So if anybody watching this today really wants to look it up, you can probably find it online. Councillor Newstub.
Thank you, Chair. We continue our commitment throughout the last year to be creating connected communities and delivering better lives for our residents. Some of the key achievements over the last year were securing £5 million in funding from the NIHR to research better how we can support our residents. We've published and continued the health and wellbeing strategy, which is a really, really key part of how we incorporate public health into everything that we do across the council, incorporating our building blocks of health approach. We've really improved and developed our co-production methodology to make sure that the users of our services are hand in hand with us in the delivery of them. The Citizens Tribunal, I'm delighted to say, has made significant progress over the year, and that leads me into the year ahead, where we'll be reporting on that progress and making decisions and recommendations about what we do next. We'll be developing our direct payments model, which gives residents control and choice over their care, and we'll continue to push for carers to receive the real living wage. Really, everything is focused on us promoting prevention and community-based solutions so that people can live independently for as long as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Negbow.
Thanks, Chair. We are well on track to deliver our target of 10,000 new jobs by 2026. We've delivered 6,145 since 2022 and 3,524 during 23-24, of which 1,083 were apprenticeships. We've also supported 3,355 residents with barriers to employment into work over the last 2 years. Our 4-year target has been surpassed because we were aiming for 2,000, and this has been delivered via a number of initiatives where we have helped those who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, those who are long-term unemployed, those who have a health condition or a disability. And for our young people, we've supported them into employment and training through a range of projects, such as through Ealing Council's apprenticeship scheme, pathway programme for care leavers, and the supported internship programme with the University of West London.
Thank you very much. Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Without wishing to give too much of a spoiler alert for item 8, we achieved a balanced budget in 23-24, which may not sound a lot as a few words, but anybody who's seen what's happening around local government in the last year or two will realise it was no mean achievement, and I'll say more when it comes to that item. But I think the key is we've achieved it while supporting the objectives of the administration's manifesto and the council plan of a supported and connected community. And I think I'm very proud of the role that the officers within my portfolio have played in achieving that, and indeed officers throughout the council. We implemented a new commercial strategy during the course of the year, which pulls together, I think, far more effectively the resources of the organisation and of the borough of a whole and the businesses that work in it to achieve the best results for all concerned. We protected individuals within our community by improving the council tax reduction scheme, and we implemented an enhanced cost of living programme across the borough. I think in terms of the year to come, there will be an enormous emphasis continuing on controlling overspends in those areas, social care, both children and adults, and increasingly in homelessness, which if we don't get a grip, like all councils, we are at risk. And we're going to seek to work with our partners in local government to influence the developing thinking of the new Labour government on local government finance. And in the area of customer service, I think we want to make the best use of technology. And I've talked about in the past, let's work out what people actually want and need from us rather than set targets based upon past assumptions.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brett.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm pleased to report that we've supported 114 places for rough sleepers over the past 2 years, exceeding our manifesto pledge of 4-year goal of 100, as well as successful implementation of the severe weather emergency protocol, and also implementing additional measures for hot weather as well. So I'm really, really pleased about that. Obviously, you know, the pressures continue on us as a local authority, but we hope to continue to try and support where we can. Also, in the past year, we've also had the draft housing strategy, which was approved in January, which is fantastic. The consultation will finish at the end of this month. And along with the local housing needs assessment and some other kind of documentation, it will help us ensure the strategy reflects the needs of our residents in the borough. Thank you.
Councillor Manro.
Thank you, Chair. I'm proud to say full council adopted the local plan Reg 19 process, and that's moving forward, as well as our seal process in terms of community infrastructure levy, which we will hopefully collect £12 million as it rolls forward. Ealing also managed to get an average of 39.4% affordable housing secured 23-24 on all our applications. So we're pushing as hard as we can to get affordable homes. Ealing ranked first in London in terms of its planning service, and I think we'll be getting some publicity in the trade press coming forward. We also secured 4.8 million in new homes bonus in this year, which is helpful towards our budgets. We also issued the final 20-minute neighbourhood frameworks for Ealing and Hanwell. So all the 7 towns have now got a framework. Looking forward, this year is a really important year around housing delivery, getting our store sites back going. And I'm really glad we have a government that will seek to support us to make sure that we deliver our homes for our residents. But it's really important that we also look at place, and the local plan also looks at all the green agenda, carbon reduction. So local plan will support a lot of the other portfolios in meeting the goals that's required. So hopefully it'll be adopted, and that will be a really good part of this next year to make sure it goes to examination and is adopted. So I've got a lot of work on this year.
You do indeed. Thank you very much. Councillor Shani.
Thank you. I'm pleased to report on some of the achievements 23-24. So this year we submitted a planning application for the new and improved Garnell Leisure Centre, and we feel positive as we head into planning committee this autumn. On the regional park, we brought Perivale Golf Course back into public use, and on the 27th of July we're officially opening the new Pear Tree Park, which was aptly named by local school children in the area. We've made good progress on the town forums. So following extensive local engagement, we introduced the Your Voice, Your Town events across the 7 towns in the borough. And the final one is happening in Perivale next week. That was delayed slightly because of the announcement of the general election. And residents have been telling us what they want more in their community and how they can help to make it happen. And all of this will be helping towards the output that will come over the autumn. Other successes include our declaration as a borough of sanctuary last year at full council, and since then work has been ongoing to apply for official accreditation, which we hope to do only in the next couple of months. And only last week I attended a workshop we held with local charity Ease, where we brought together some of the offer we have for refugees, and we had great feedback on our offer. And finally, we launched our Ealing Culture website, which brings together council news, community news and opportunities in the area as part of our culture plan for the borough. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those introductions, and with thanks to members of the Cabinet, also particularly to those who've changed portfolios and have been brushing up on the achievements of colleagues and others, but of course also to the staff team, the officer corps, who've been working so hard over the last year to deliver against all of those objectives, and no doubt we'll continue to ask them to deliver for us and on behalf of the people of Ealing for the next year ahead too. I do have questions from the opposition. I will go to Councillor Gallant first, as he is in the room. Julian.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. Thank you for the report. So a lot of detail in there. If I may, I appreciate the pressure that the council's under in terms of temporary accommodation. Looking at page 39 with those red boxes. The question is, how are we engaging with private landlords to help keep them in the rental market so they continue to see letting property as a viable long-term investment?
Thank you for the question. I suppose, private landlords have got their own remits, and they can choose to work with us or not. I think as a council, we've always been open and engaged with private landlords, but we do have to acknowledge that a lot of landlords are re-looking at their situation, in particular because of the crashed economy from the previous Tory government, and the fact that interest rates skyrocketed, and it's made it much more non-viable for them. Having said that, we're hoping now with a new government that landlords will feel a little bit more secure, and we'll see interest rates come down, and I think that means that then hopefully less will be kind of leaving the marketplace. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Malcolm.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just first of all pass on my regards to the number of new Cabinet members over the past couple of months. My first couple of questions comes to one of those, so they relate to 4.1.2 climate action. So the first question is, when will London Borough of Ealing agree terms with Imperial College? And then secondly, with regard to the regional park, when will the master plan be created by? And my third question relates to the £150 million spend Cabinet agreed a number of months ago to help with the RED KPI of temporary accommodation, which Councillor Munro, you mentioned. Could you give an update on the progress of that? How is that going? And do you think you will be able to spend that? And how will that affect the savings that you're looking to make as part of that initiative?
I mean, I think all of those have all got delegations and subsequent recommendations to Cabinet. So of course, they are all going to come to Cabinet at some point with greater detail. But Councillor Munro, did you want to say anything first on the temporary accommodation acquisition strategy?
So we've got a specialist officer working on that. As you know, we leased a hotel for a year. So we've been looking at different ways of actually getting accommodation now. And there is a longer term plan for us to actually purchase blocks, but it takes a little while. So there will be a report coming forward, which later on in the year, which will look at us actually purchasing, and you will see that in reports coming forward. But those are more sort of complicated in terms of agreeing the prices. As we said, they need to be self-funding. They need to be able to return the borrowing, the interest that we borrow to pay for those blocks. So it's a little bit longer term, but we're doing short term. We're buying street properties, and we're all, as I said, we leased a hotel, and we're looking to do more street purchases. But it is a difficult market. Prices are high, but that's how we're moving forward. And you will see more stuff come forward later on this year.
I am reticent to sort of take every Cabinet paper as a free-for-all for questions on things that will come in the future and are on either have had delegations or will come back at a future date, as of course, which you've all already confirmed. So, I think we all know that both Warren Farm and the regional park are all subject to that process. But Councillor Hashani, if you did want to mention anything in addition.
Yeah, just to say that the team are working really hard on the master plan. We've commissioned a report on this, which, as you say, will come to Cabinet in due course. And the first part of that, as you know, we're opening Pear Tree Park on the 27th of July. So work is ongoing. We already started that process. It's very exciting. It's going to be transformative for the borough. I only visited a couple of weeks ago when I started in this portfolio, and I was so impressed by the potential of regional park for the area and beyond. So I'm very excited to be, when the time comes, present something to here and beyond. Thank you.
And I'd also say to the officers as well, who've now begun the process of some very deep engagement with communities as well. over those projects, ongoing conversations with all interested parties, to ensure that we really are collecting up and collating people's hopes and aspirations for, the entirety of the regional park. But of course, very importantly, the best of both worlds that we've managed to achieve at Warren Farm in terms of sports provision, and of course the maintenance and continued rewilding of Warren Farm. So, there will be very exciting things happening in the not too distant future, Councillor Malcolm, and we will bring them to you and to everybody else in due course when they're ready. On the basis of the contributions from Cabinet, thank you very much, and from the questions from the opposition, I don't see anybody else indicating to speak, so I'll direct you to the recommendations in the report and ask that they're agreed. Thank you very much. I go back to my agenda, even though it's a short one. And Councillor Donnelly, you're going to introduce the revenue and the capital outrun from last year.
Thank you, Chair. I was sense 3.5 months into the new year that this is an item which has sometimes passed peak interest. But I'll just build on a couple of the points I made in the previous item, which is to say, we achieved a balanced budget through considerable efforts right across the organisation. We notionally came in with a surplus, albeit a tiny percentage of our overall budget. But we're aware, as I've said to previous cabinets over a number of years now, we have a fortunate position of considerable capital balances from borrowings we've not yet been able to invest in property. That's fortunate, but not entirely an accident. There were skillful decisions made by officers past and present around the timing of that borrowing, but we know that we can't survive on it forever, and that both relative interest rates the gap will narrow, and we'll want to spend the money. So for the coming year, we already have a very substantial focus on cost management within the social care areas and within homelessness, the 3 areas which have been causing such havoc to councils up and down the country over the last 2 to 3 years. So in a sense, where we've come from is interesting, where we're going is vital, and we are redoubling our efforts to ensure that these costs are both understood and managed and kept within acceptable bounds in the months and years to come. But happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, and I believe I only have a question from Councillor Gallant from the opposition.
Thanks, Chair. First of all, may I also congratulate Cabinet members who've taken up new positions. Excuse me, I didn't do that first. We have had, since I wrote and asked, we've had an excellent briefing, and our finance lead tells me he knows everything he needs to know for the moment. No questions.
Oh, there we are. In that case, do I have any other contributions from Cabinet? I mean, the advantage of having a good 3.5 months to process the budget outrun is such that I'm sure all of us have read it with great interest and great detail, not least, of course, because we sit in financial management and oversight meetings outside of this room where we all discuss it at great length. So, we are in a very solid position to have landed where we are, but of course the forecast ahead of us could be anything. And of course, we are all looking forward to working with a new government, which is Labour in flavour, with all 413 of its members of parliament, to really try and make the type of substantial difference that we know that we need to make for this country. And a Labour council working with the Labour government presents the Borough of Ealing with some incredible opportunities, ones which we saw in today's King's speech, from planning reform through to skills and apprenticeship devolution and so much more. Of course, we will have to do that within a very difficult financial circumstance and an envelope left behind for us after 14 years of the previous government. So things will, of course, continue to be challenging, but we will do that in our best efforts and with the people of this great borough in our minds always. And with that, I believe it takes us to the end of the meeting. And therefore, I can report that the next meeting is in the future. The dates of which are 18th of September. There you go. It dropped off the bottom of mine, but yeah, item number 9 is for noting, but that's just there on the order paper. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.